Hi there, and greetings on the 21st of August 2020. It is a Friday. Yesterday, jobless claims came out at 1.1 million. 23 weeks straight. 1 week, last week, only, I think it was 971,000 unemployed. Yes, they raised that number by 8,000 after they realized they missed some people. But that was the only week of less than a million of people losing their jobs. And those numbers do not include gig workers. They don't include self-employed or shuttered businesses or anybody else. You know, people driving for Uber and Lyft. I mean, that's a whole nother story out in California, because about 200,000 people who did it either full-time or part-time could have the potential of no longer being able to. There's a lot going on in this world. So let's get right to it. It says the coronavirus devastation of small business threatens capitalism in the U.S. We're talking really large numbers of businesses closing down. Yelp reports 155,000 have closed down since the beginning of the pandemic. Some closed down due to state mandates, whether it be a restaurant or a gym, and many just don't find it financially viable to stay open anymore. You can't run a business if you can't pay your rent, and you can't pay, for merchandise, or you're running in the red. It's just not viable. As of August 11th, it says 91,000, or 59% of those are permanent closures. 91,000 business closures. And these aren't bankruptcies. These are people who just turned the key and walked away with nothing left. Just devastated. Lines continue at food banks across the country. COVID numbers are spiking everywhere. They're not slowing down. It is unprecedented, and as we try to reopen schools all at the same time. And I understand, you close these businesses and they don't pay taxes anymore, and it, does not bode well for the cities and towns that they were located in. Now there's less revenue coming in, and that's going to force cities and towns to lay people off. New York City has a huge budget to slash. They are cutting over 400 EMT jobs. Those EMT jobs, those people that saved all those lives during the COVID crisis in April in New York City, they're losing their jobs. So much for the essential workers, huh? We use them when they need them, and then they're just put out to pasture. It is incredible what's going on. There is no V-shaped recovery, my friends. It is an L. Might even be worse than that. If I could move my thumb down a little bit, I would even say it's going into negative territory. Yet the stock market continues to boom, thanks to Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Facebook, and a few other tech stocks. I don't know, it's a crazy world we live in. Now in California, aside from having this Uber and Lyft problem with, having to take gig workers and put them on the payroll, now they have fires and a pandemic. People can't leave their houses. It is a mess. People with asthma can't leave because of COVID. They can't breathe because of the air with the fires. Bay Area restaurants and daycare centers are closing down, not because of the pandemic, but because operating in indoor spaces is not allowed, and outdoor spaces is not safe because of the smoke and the fumes from the fire. So these record wildfires are just not, and then California is also dealing with very high temperatures. So they are facing crises on multiple fronts. I mean, millions are losing power. Millions are being evacuated. This is on top of a problem that I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we got into this long conversation. She's a school teacher, and she's nervous about going back. She's a breast cancer survivor. Does she want to go back? No. Is it safe to go back? No. I understand exactly where she's coming from. She works for a private school, and I said to her, you don't understand. You're thinking about your own safety and saving your own life, and I totally commendable, and I would do the same thing. But the school is facing saving the school's life, because if they don't reopen now with in-person classes, they may never reopen again. And it's an economic choice that they're making. I mean, people are making economic choices all around. Look at the NFL, right? Look at the NFL. They're playing no matter what. Look at these colleges that are playing. Yesterday I was reading an article that a college said that we should move all 30,000 students from campus and just keep the football team on campus to keep them safe. I mean, why is a college there? Is a college there to educate, or is a college there to play football? It just makes no sense. But people are looking out for their own economic benefits. And some of these football coaches at Alabama and LSU and these big schools, I mean, they make, $8.2 million a year, where the president of the college makes $500,000 a year. I mean, they're both great jobs, but I mean, is there a little bit of an inequity there? I mean, football? Really? I mean, listen, I like a good game of football on a cold Sunday afternoon, it's enjoyable. But really, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So we have that to talk about. So many hotels across the country, they are going bankrupt too. They cannot afford to stay open. It says that 30%, it says the report showed the percentage of loans that is 30 days or more delinquent for hotels is 23.5% last month. The highest percentage on record. The hotels that were delinquent in 2019 was 1.3%. Now we're 23.5%. Listen, people are losing their livelihoods. People can't feed their families. People can't pay their rent. That's another story. Evictions going crazy across the country. In Las Vegas, it's unprecedented the amount of eviction notices that are going out. So when you look at everything going on in this country, how could you say we're in a V-shaped recovery? I mean, really, a V-shaped recovery? It is so far from reality. Take that stock market, and even if you took away those, few big stocks that are driving the stock market, the rest of the stock market would be down big. The country is in deep trouble. We are in deep trouble. Another article I was reading, it said, throughout this, over time, over the next 3 years, a third of Americans are going to be destitute. 1/3. If you carry large debt, if you're not preparing yourself for the inevitable, crash of the United States of America, if you are, oblivious to what's going on and still charging and taking out all those loans, you are going to be let out to pasture. I mean, you're going to be devastated. So 1/3 of Americans are going to be devastated. 1/3 of Americans, life won't change that much, right? They'll have to tighten their belts a little bit, but they'll survive this. And then 1/3 of Americans will only get richer. And I don't know which third you're going to be in, but now is the time to start thinking about what third you want to be in and taking measures. And it might even be too late to take those measures, but I would take some measures to at least be in the middle scenario that I frame. Your life changed, but not that much. If you have debt, pay it down. Pay down that debt. If you rent an apartment, move in with some friends or family if you can, and save some money. Stock up on food and water. Food and water. The prices are going to go through the roof, and if you don't have any money, you're going to go hungry. So I was talking to this friend yesterday. Let me get back to the conversation. I told her, and she said to me, did you ever think we were going to have this conversation 10 years ago? We were talking about going to New York. We were talking about our trips to Italy. We were talking about whatever it was. But we never thought in a million years that we would be talking about an economic collapse or the potential death. I mean, let's face it. You have two choices to make. You can open up, and there'll be massive loss of, well, not even massive loss of life, but the potential for loss of life higher than it would be if you didn't reopen, or an economy crashing, right? So you have the death of thousands or an economic crash. And those are the decisions that we're coming to. And even if things open, people just aren't going out. They're not spending. They're not doing what needs to be done to keep the economy going. So like Sweden did it, right? And then their economy suffered too. When no country is an island. And you can't survive on your own, especially when we don't make anything here. We don't manufacture anything. We're just service providers, and people don't want services right now. prepare yourself. Which third do you want to be in? And make sure it's not in the bottom third. Have a great day. Enjoy a beautiful day in August. It's still summertime. The weather is lovely, I'm sure, in many parts of the country. Pray for those in California with the fires. Keep safe. Stay close to family and friends. And stay safe. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. All right, talk to you soon.